Hello class. Again, my name is Mr. James Shabazz, and welcome to Inspiration Through Education. Today, we're going to talk about how is it that I came into Christianity. You see, I wasn't born a Christian. I was raised in Islam. My household was full of Muslims. Now, a lot of people aren't familiar with Islam because it wasn't prevalent, especially where we moved in Norfolk, Virginia. However, I want to share a few things with you how I came into a knowledge of Jesus Christ. And this is my path to Christ. Growing up, I viewed the Bible as a bunch of myths and fairy tales. I used to say it's a bunch of fables like the cow jumped over the moon and the dish ran away with the spoon. This whole Bible is just a screenplay. That's what I used to say, brothers and sisters. Can you believe that? However, there's a reason for that. My father himself is an imam, which is a minister or a pastor. Being under his wing, he was a strict disciplinarian. And I tell you right now, if it wasn't for his discipline that I received, I wouldn't be here today. Now, my grandfather was Minister James A. Shabazz. So I'm the third. And he is viewed next to, he has the glasses next to Muhammad Ali. The person at the podium is who is referred to as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And behind my grandfather, well, that is Louis Farrakhan. Years ago, I remember in elementary school, Renabee Wright. I was in the 4th grade, and that's when I remember when I started to truly get in trouble. Now, I don't know why, what came about, but it was just this spirit of rebellion that a lot of young people have today. And this spirit just drove me to do some foolish things. Even in stores, I would go to stores and I would steal and I would do all these things, and I wasn't even raised to do these things. It wasn't until I get to middle school that I remember using this phrase. I coined this phrase. It was saying, every time I get in trouble, everybody uses me as the scapegoat. I didn't even know what that term meant at the time. But every time I did something, they would say, why did you do this? Or why did you do that? And I would say, oh, y'all just using me as the scapegoat. I'm always the scapegoat. Anytime something goes wrong in the school, somebody gets in trouble, y'all always put the blame on me. And I cannot tell you to this day where I came up with that word. But that was my favorite saying, scapegoat. So at the beginning of my 8th grade year, they called my mom in. My dad couldn't make it at the time because he had to work. And I remember them pulling a file and went just like this. And it was all of my infractions, all of my write-ups, all of my referrals that was right there. And they said, Ms. Shabazz, we cannot keep him here at this school. So sure enough, I went to an alternative school. And this alternative school is a little different because I was able to go there and leave at the end of the day. But a lot of students, they had to stay right there on site. So needless to say, those that had to stay on site, oh, they could care less about anything. You see, those that could leave, we had the opportunity to actually earn enough credits at this school, and then we can leave. And the name of the alternative school didn't help out either. It was called Nike Site. And I was like, man, that is a strange name for a school. So we get there, and of course, the people on the bus were unruly and everybody misbehaved. And even there, when I would get in trouble, when I first started, when I would get in trouble, here comes that term again. Y'all would use me as the scapegoat. There was a rumor that was saying, well, it's called Nike Site because it used to be an old military base. And that old military base, they used to store missiles underground. Of course, we thought it was a rumor. We didn't believe any of that. Sure enough, as I'm looking further into it, do you know that it's called Nike Site? Because we thought it was like psych, like psychological, but it was Nike Site. It was a site where it was actually a military base, but they did have Nike missiles The worst part of the whole transition to this place was as we're driving there, it was a long driveway just to get to the entrance. And when I got to that long road to get to the entrance of the Nike site, that was when I dreaded the most. It was barbed wire fence. It just wasn't a good place to be. I wish I was somewhere else, but I knew that it was because of my own actions that I had to reap those consequences. At the beginning of 10th grade, I said, now I want to get out of this place. I was fighting. I was having to always explain myself, and it was just too much. And I said, it's time to get out of this place. I finally came up with the amount of credits to leave that school, and I was returned back into the public school system at the end of my 10th grade year. And unfortunately, I got back with old comrades, got back with the old friends, and I got back into the same rebellion that I was in before. And every time I would get in trouble, you know the term I would use. You guys are using me as the scapegoat. Here it is, senior year. I'm telling you, they seed me and D'd me all the way through. They just gave me D's and D's, did something foolish, and I couldn't even graduate with my graduating class. I had to wait until August that during the summer school in order to graduate. And sure enough, I graduated. Mom used to always say, boy, when you going to get it together because you're smart? And do you know, sure enough, I had no idea that my mom knew exactly what she was talking about. And I want to thank Mom right now. Thanks, Mom. Now listen to this. As I'm going through the motions of working, a subcontractor, electrical engineer, he got in contact with my father, and my father said, okay, sure, you can use him, he can do this. And I was running wires, and then he got me trained into this, the electrical aspect of everything. But although I was very good at it, I didn't love it. My brother went to college, and he actually had a scholarship from band. And I thought I'm like, wow, that was really interesting to go to college. That was like way off my radar. I wasn't even thinking about college. But sure enough, in 1994, I said, you know what? I'll just go for a semester just to say that I went to college. I had no aspirations of graduation. First semester goes by, and I made Dean's List. Here comes second semester, Dean's List. Third semester, Dean's List. And then I got into sophomore year and said, wait a minute. It's a possibility, just a slight possibility, that I can actually graduate. I tell you, when I finally got to the position when it was time to graduate, it was August 1999. After going to Booker T. Washington, which was right down the street from the college, Norfolk State University, I would go to see my brother teaching. And the joy that he had teaching. It wasn't even a job to him. It was just so much joy and exuberance that he had, and he just energized the class that it made me think, this is what I truly want to do. You see, it's not a coincidence that me and my brother are teachers. So listen to this. 2 years, I went ahead and switched my major to technology education. That way I can still be in a technical field, but at the same time, I can reach and teach our young people, because I always love to do that. So sure enough, in 1999 of August, I got called down to the Board of Education in Norfolk, Virginia, and they said, we know that this is your last semester coming up, but what we want to do is we want to forego your student teaching, and we're going to put you right into a classroom. And brothers and sisters, do you know that I got into that classroom and it was such a blessing. It was something that I never experienced before. I was teaching, and somebody that was in the administrative office, they said, this is James Shabazz. They said, this can't be the same James Shabazz that went to Nike site. And sure enough, one thing led to another, and a newspaper came to see me at the school. They wanted to do an article like, wow, this person is teaching today. Let's do an article about it. And then another newspaper came, and it was like really neat. It was pretty cool. I want to just clarify one thing, because a lot of people have seen this newspaper. In the newspaper, it says that I graduated from summer school with a GPA of 1.07. But it wasn't 1.07, it was 1.7. So I had a little bit of knowledge at the time, but it was 1.7, not 1.07. So brothers and sisters, I'm teaching at a school called Lake Taylor High School. And it wasn't until February of 2000 that they gave me my first contract. And I never forget, because I never signed any contract. I was always working for, hourly wage. And sure enough, I sat down with the superintendent and assistant superintendent and the supervisor, and they slid me the contract. I signed the contract, and here it is. I'm teaching. I have my own classroom. Everything's going great. And then I talked to another teacher about this program about flipping houses, and then something amazing happened. I visited my brother's church that he was attending at that time. And sure enough, that is where I met the love of my life, my wife. I was not attending church. I was not even attending the mosque. I got out of there. I got kicked out of the house. I said, okay, I'm done with all of it. So that's how I was considering myself. I'm spiritual, but I was doing everything under the sun. And sure enough, visited a church, met a young lady, and we started to court. Now, young people, later on in the video, I want to tell you the difference between courting and dating. It's a huge difference. So brothers and sisters, I want to let you know there's a lot of young people that do a lot of foolish things off of impulse. Even though I was raised as a Muslim in the religion of Islam, I still rebelled. There's a lot of preacher kids today that they say, man, they are the worst ones. They are to have so many luxuries at their disposal, and people seem to think that they're like the cream of the crop because of who their parents are. But I want to tell you, that's not always the case. I pray that you continue along with the series, My Path to Christ, when we begin part 2, and I pray that it will be a blessing to you or someone that you know. But in the meantime, as Paul said to the church of Corinth, may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the communion of the Holy Ghost be with you all.